Breaking news, the crisis sweeping the Channel has detonated into a nationwide uprising. Tonight, we expose the political treachery that drove 200,000 ordinary Britons into the streets in a moment of sheer national fury. They demand answers. Answers for the chaos unleashed by Home Office deception and the lethal legal gaps championed by figures like Keir Starmer. The public's message is deafening. The system is broken, and they know exactly who broke it. And tonight, we reveal the evidence that justifies every ounce of their outrage. Because this isn't just a migrant emergency, this is a battle for Britain's very identity. This immense wave of anger hasn't emerged from thin air. The revolt gripping the country is rooted in undeniable reality. A reality of lawlessness on the French coast that is raw, violent, and deeply alarming. While Westminster continues to debate abstract theories, our reporters stood on the ground, witnessing chaotic scenes that explain precisely why the British public has reached breaking point. Stay with us as we bring you disturbing footage of riots and disorder that confirm the public's darkest fears, and reveal why they are now demanding a reckoning. The scenes erupting along the French shoreline are nothing short of shocking. Our exclusive access shows an absolute collapse of law enforcement in towns like Calais and Dunkirk. We filmed groups of migrants openly displaying massive inflatable boats. The very vessels used to force illegal entry into Britain march straight through quiet neighbourhoods in broad daylight, not hidden, not discreet. A public procession, and then comes the most brazen detail. Many of these individuals queue for free public buses meant for ordinary commuters and tourists, which carry them directly to their launch points. They stand there in bright orange life jackets, worn like a symbol, a uniform of defiance. So where are the authorities? Britain has poured hundreds of millions of pounds into France, specifically to increase patrols and choke off this illegal trade. Yet, while our cameras rolled, not a single officer stepped in. No one seized the boats. No one detained a soul. No one acted. This operation runs with total impunity, and French police appear either unwilling or simply incapable of stopping it. But the catastrophe is spreading far beyond the beaches. This influx of illegal migrants is exporting criminality deep into French communities. Travel with us now to Grande Synthe, where the situation has spun beyond control. All cameras captured chilling scenes in a quiet street as night fell. A crowd easily more than 100 strong, erupting into chaos after a failed launch attempt left them furious. What followed looked like a riot, men running wild, police attacked in the very streets they are meant to protect, running battles between mobs and officers, right outside family homes. For residents, this isn't some distant geopolitical problem, it's their daily life. Locals describe living through an unending nightmare, graffiti scarred across their walls, their cars smashed, their homes vandalized, bicycles, tools, and personal belongings stolen without hesitation. Entire neighborhoods are being terrorized. People who once lived peacefully now speak openly about feeling unsafe, about fearing what nightfall may bring. The state has failed them. They feel exposed, abandoned, and forced to coexist with escalating violence and roaming gangs. But perhaps the most devastating discovery from our investigation comes from the source of this entire operation. We have obtained unprecedented footage from inside a boat assembly plant in Turkey. Here, the vessels used to breach British borders are being produced in bulk, churned out like a high-speed assembly line. Look closely at the red racing stripe down the side of each boat. This is the unmistakable mark of a new supplier, and now we can present hard proof of an international chain driving this crisis, manufactured in Turkey, transported across Europe, including routes through Germany, delivered straight to the northern French coast. We matched branding from the Turkish factory to a dinghy launched just last weekend, during a period when over 2,000 migrants crossed the Channel. This is not speculation. This is the evidence. Knowing this, the question becomes unavoidable. Why are the efforts to destroy these networks failing so catastrophically? We know where the factories are, yet they operate untouched. The answer is simple: Europe is paralyzed by its own laws. Shutting down these foreign workshops demands genuine muscular cooperation from countries like Turkey and Germany, cooperation that is nowhere to be seen. German officials claim their laws prevent the closure of a suspected factory unless a crime has already occurred. This legal absurdity lets smugglers flourish inside the heart of Europe until our government forces real commitment from its so-called partners. These supply lines will continue feeding the crisis uninterrupted, unchallenged, and beneath all this political back and forth lies a deeper betrayal. Not of Britain, but of French families living through the fallout. Some claim France simply wants to push these migrants across the Channel to make them Britain's problem, but that ignores the suffering of their own citizens. Why aren't French authorities protecting the people who live there? Why are towns like Calais, Dunkirk, and Grandy, Ceuta being left to fall into chaos? We've heard testimony that is genuinely shocking. Life in these communities has become a daily ordeal. Intimidation, violent flare-ups, vandalism, theft, and relentless fear. And every time a launch is stopped, the rage of these groups is turned back onto local streets. Homes are damaged, shops attacked, cars torched. Crime has become normalized. French families feel abandoned, sacrificed by a government that seems both unable and unwilling to restore order. This is not merely a migrant crisis, it is a profound failure of governance on French soil. Amid this turmoil, the Home Office produces its predictable, polished statement. They boast about an historic agreement with France and claim 35,000 illegal migrants have been removed. But let's strip away the presentation and look at the truth. The overwhelming majority of the people counted in that figure are not Channel arrivals. They are visa overstayers, individuals who entered legally and simply ran out their paperwork. Not the men arriving daily on dinghies, not the organised groups exploiting the Channel, not the criminals driving the crisis. This is political spin dressed up as progress. A deliberate effort to blur two separate issues into one inflated statistic. The Channel crisis remains untouched, and the returns deal is failing catastrophically. Our investigation also reveals the legal loopholes shielding the criminal networks themselves. We know where the factories operate, yet European law blocks action until after a crime is proven, even with overwhelming intelligence in hand. This technicality protects mass production smugglers, keeping the pipeline alive and guaranteeing the steady flow of dangerous dinghies to the French coast. The entire situation is a portrait of political weakness. Grand promises vanish when confronted with Europe's tangle of bureaucracy, while the British public is fed carefully crafted statistics meant to placate, not inform. We deserve better. We deserve honesty. What this investigation reveals is not a failure of boats or border patrols, but a failure of leadership. Britain hasn't been betrayed by the sea, it has been betrayed by the political and legal establishment that governs it. The collapse on the French coast and the empty assurances from Westminster point to a deeper rot. The political lesson is brutal. Words solve nothing. The governing party's hollow pledges and the opposition's legalistic roadblocks have both failed this nation. The system is structurally compromised, and only unapologetic reform can repair it. Reform that places border control above outdated legal dogma and bureaucratic inertia. Any politician unwilling to confront the legal elite and defend the nation's sovereignty is unfit to lead. So what can you, the British public, do? Start by ignoring the polished headlines and sanitized statistics. Demand transparency about who is being deported and who is not. Hold every politician accountable, not just for their promises, but for the broken legal framework they refuse to change. The age of polite debate is over. Your safety is being traded away. Only intense, unrelenting public pressure can force the transformation needed to reclaim our borders. The battle for Britain's future begins now.